On Saturday, I think, there was a really interesting Financial Times article by David Shepard, George Parker, and Anna Gross. And they were asking really about the future of the Conservative Party, a question that I've been asking a few times, and I put forward in the occasional vlog. The FT paints a picture of a party at its lowest point in modern history. Polls now show the Conservatives falling and failing, falling not merely behind Labour, but potentially into fourth place, something unimaginable for a party that's governed Britain for most of the last century. And the statistics are brutal. The tipping point age of a Conservative voter has risen to 63 from 39 in 2019, meaning the party is losing almost all of the under 60s. It's been wiped out in once safe counties like Oxfordshire. Donations are still flowing, but donors are anxious and scanning for alternatives. This is not just mid-term unpopularity, it's just a party that has lost its social base and cultural purpose. And the article implies that Badenoch has chosen the only road that leads nowhere, a further right culture war pivot, meant to head off Nigel Farage's Reform UK. She is promising to scrap the Climate Change Act, to leave the European Convention on Human Rights, and present herself as the guardian of tough borders. But this is politically incoherent. As Robert Ford of Manchester University notes, if I was to hand you a list of centre-right parties that have beaten the radical right at their own game, I'd hand you a blank sheet of paper. Reform voters prefer the original to an imitation. Moderate voters are alienated. Young and educated voters, already drifting away, hear nothing but hostility. So the only desire, this sort of desire to go further right, must be Kemi Badenoch's own personal passion plan, because it's not an electoral decision. It's not a decision based on reasoned analysis. It's a decision based on madness and mania. What the Financial Times piece makes clear, but stops short of spelling out, is the silencing of the party's pragmatic centre. The Conservatives once thrived on ideological flexibility. Disraeli's one nationism, Macmillan's managed capitalism, Cameron's social liberalism. Today there is no credible figure urging moderation, none that we can hear anyway. Fear of reform has cowed MPs. The few that might advocate a centre-right renewal stay quiet in case they are branded soft. The donors and the strategists who used to insist on broad church appeal have been marginalised by activists who want to out Farage. This is not just a strategic error, but a cultural one. It turns the Conservative Party from a pragmatic election-winning machine into a niche ideological sect. Nigel Farage has energised populist anger, particularly over immigration and stagnant living standards. The FT notes that reform is one man deep. It depends utterly on Farage's charisma and ability to hold together a movement of political amateurs. If Farage falters, reform would collapse. Yet Badenoch acts as though reform were a permanent disciplined rival. That is self-defeating. By chasing Farage's voters, she legitimises him and signals to moderates that the Conservatives have abandoned them. An important but understated point is that the reform-fuelled migration panic has also seeped into Labour. Starmer's strategists, notably Lord Glassman, Maurice Glassman, and Morgan McSweeney, the Blue Labour, have nudged Labour into sounding tougher on immigration and culturally cautious. That leaves Britain with a political spectrum where both main parties echo far-right talking points, echo the talking points conjured up by Farage himself. This dynamic deprives voters of a clear, liberal, internationalist, centre-right alternative, precisely the ground the old Conservative Party used to occupy, and that I find the most extraordinary. And it seems to me that this is a sort of madness, and it needs to be challenged, on all sides, on the Labour side, on the Conservative side, and on the Lib Dem side. Can the Conservatives survive? Yes, but not on their current course. The party's historic resilience comes from a donor base and an institutional network stronger than any rival, a record of reinventing itself, for example in 1906, 1945, 1997 and so on. Deep local roots in councils and associations, but to survive it needs a new leader who rejects the out-Farage strategy and rebuilds a broader coalition. It needs economic credibility, fiscal prudence without reheated austerity. It needs cultural moderation. It needs to be socially conservative enough for older voters, not but not hostile to the educated or to the young, a willingness to let reform burn itself out rather than legitimizing it. If Badenoch continues to double down on hard right gestures, or if she thinks that she can genuflect to Robert Jenrick and bow out and be replaced by a sort of look-alike in trousers, she risks turning a bad electoral cycle into existential decline. Badenoch has done more than Liz Truss, I think, to destroy the Conservative brand, and the longer she remains in place, the more certain it is that the Conservatives will die. Now, why would this matter beyond the immediate support of Conservative Party supporters? Well, it matters because without a legitimate and functioning opposition, the government of the day collapses in on itself, which is already happening. What we're seeing in the Labour Party is the emergence of the opposition from the backbenches. The same thing happened, incidentally, with the Conservative Party during the Corbyn Labour opposition. It's not healthy. A healthy parliament is a parliament with a functioning government and a functioning opposition. This adversarial system, by the way, the adversarial system was the system of the Roman Senate. The image that we get in TV or cinema of a semicircular Senate is an image which has been cultured by American propaganda. The only architectural evidence is that the Senate was a rectangular space where one side faced the other, very much like the British Parliament. The Financial Times story is not only about one leader, but about institutional panic. And a party that once prided itself on calm adaptability now thrashes about in fear of a populist challenger. That fear blinds it to its real strength, the ability to offer competence, economic seriousness, and moderate patriotism. If it can recover that voice, the Conservatives could yet outlast reform and remain a major party. If it cannot, it may follow continental centre-right parties that tired of the right. These centre-right parties that attempted to mimic populists and ended up hollowing themselves out, eating themselves alive. This is not the inevitable death of the Conservative Party, but it could become the death of the Conservative Party if Badenoch's ideological lurch rightward is not checked, and soon. I would say it's not a matter of years, it's certainly not a matter of months. It's a matter of weeks, whether the Conservative Party survives in any form or not. And if the Conservative Party fails, it will fail so absolutely. It will be the most extraordinary political upheaval in a couple of centuries. And it will not be something for the Labour Party, the Liberal Party, or frankly for Reform to celebrate. It will be a template for the further disintegration of politics in our country. If the Conservatives can die, then so can the Labour Party, so can the Lib Dems, so can Reform. A healthy democracy would support all of these different voices, including the Greens, including independents. The absence of a centrist corrective is striking and dangerous. Reform is fragile. Britain's largest party need not abase itself before a one-man populist show. But time is running out, and May's local and devolved elections could trigger the next, perhaps fatal, crisis. I don't know whether we have to wait until then for a leadership bid. The FT seems to think we do. I think that would be wrong. I think the leadership bid should come in November. And if Badenoch has any desire or any I was going to say any pride in the Conservative Party, then she would resign and ensure that it survives. The longer she stays at the helm, the more certain it is the Conservative Party will die.